Moyako Kano is a foolish, idiotic girl who thinks her younger brother, Akira, is doing everything possible to stuff his sausage inside of her. The two of them go through different daily activities, with Moyako misreading every situation and blaming her brother for being a degenerate. Akira, on the other hand, is actually a normal human being, and it's Moyako who just wants to be defiled. In the Kano household, while Moyako gets ready to make breakfast, she greets Akira and starts accusing him of being a filthy degenerate. 10 years ago, Akira told his elder sister that he wanted to get married to her, and ever since then, Moyako feels like her brother is a depraved fool who's obsessed with her. She starts thinking of things the wrong way and banging her head on the wall, making Akira think that his sister has gone completely insane. Moyako asks Akira what he wants to eat, and he tells her that anything would be fine. The stupid girl immediately thinks that he sees her as a housewife and that society would see them as a couple. When the food is ready, Akira compliments her on her cooking, and she takes it as a proposal. She tells him that it's way too early for that, further making herself look like a weird creep. In school, Moyako's childhood friend, Kasumi, calls her an idiot for always saying crazy things about Akira. Kasumi is tired of all her pointless ranting, but Moyako tries to convince her that it's all real. Moyako tells her that Akira tried to use her toothbrush in the morning while he was half asleep. She thought her brother was putting up an act just to stuff something that had been in her mouth down his throat. Because Kasumi always defends Akira, Moyako thinks that the girl has become her brother's plaything. Thinking that her brother is trying to conquer her body and turn her into a baby factory, she slams her table in anger and tells Kasumi that she'll never conquer her castle. During lunch break, Kasumi invites Akira to have lunch with her and Moyako. The stupid older sister then thinks that people see her and Kasumi as part of Akira's lewd harem. Seeing that she hasn't touched her food, Akira reminds his sister about it. Moyako remembers that they have the same type of lunch and feels like the rest of the students would think that they were sucking each other off. She blames her brother for everything, while Moyako tells Kasumi to share Moyako's lunch with her. In the blink of an eye, Moyako gulps down everything in one bite. After school, she asks Akira to walk home together with her. He usually gets embarrassed when his classmates see him walking together with his sister. Due to that, he keeps a reasonable distance behind her when they're walking. Suddenly, Moyako feels that her brother is using his shyness as an excuse to get a good view of her cakes. She starts feeling vulnerable and defenseless while giving a pose that would definitely be a thing for degenerates. Akira tries to ask her what's wrong, and she nearly batters his head with her suitcase while loudly calling him a degenerate. The people passing by misunderstand the situation, and Akira lets them know that he's her younger brother. He carries her bag, and they try to get home as soon as possible because Akira doesn't want people to think that he's tailing her. Being a brain-dead fool, Moyako misreads the situation again and warns him not to walk behind her. When they get home, she sees some expired milk and says that they have to finish it quickly. Akira asks for a glass of milk, and she sees it as giving him her warm, sweet liquids. At night, she prepares a bath for him, but he tells her to go first so that he can finish up his game. After undressing, she thinks that Akira wants to peep at her, so she locks the doors. While she enjoys the warm water, she starts wishing that they could actually share a bath like they did in her younger days. Later on, she assumes that his goal is to store her bath water, so she thinks of drinking it. After tasting it, she calculates how much would be enough for him. Moyako rushes out and gives Akira a glass of her bath water, while also giving him a good view of her big melons and a towel. The next day, Akira calls Moyako while he's having a bath and asks if there's more shampoo since the bottle he had was empty. As she goes to give it to him, she assumes that her brother is standing naked, waiting to give her a nice view of his sausage. She drops the shampoo by the door, but he asks her to just bring it inside. She opens the door and walks backward to the door, separating the bath from the washroom. Akira still insists that she brings the shampoo to him. Maybe this guy really just wants to satisfy his urges. She blindfolds herself and goes in, but mistakenly slips on a bar of soap and falls into the bath. Now, she was wet and her clothes were transparent, giving Akira something that every guy in her class was dying to see. During breakfast, Akira mistakenly spills coffee on his pants, and Moyako quickly grabs a towel to help him wipe it. As soon as she sees that the coffee is spilled all over his windpipe, she is convinced that her brother is the worst piece of garbage. Luckily, he grabs the napkin from her and wipes off the stain by himself, and she feels that maybe she was mistaken about him. Seeing that stains weren't coming off, Akira decided to change his clothes, but Moyako wasn't ready for a stripping session. She stops him, and he ends up changing his clothes in the bathroom. At school, a girl known as Siki gets scolded by their teacher because of her dressing. Moyako offers to be punished as well since she is wearing a cardigan like Siki. The professor has no other choice than to let them go since Moyako is a bright pupil. After that, Moyako starts telling Siki that her brother is a degenerate who likes to get a whiff of her hair. Siki ends up believing the stupid story, showing that she's just as dumb as Moyako. one of Akira's stupid classmates reveals his fantasies of having an older sister, but Akira doesn't share the same tastes as him. The fool gets kicked aside by Siki and shamefully walks back to his seat. Akira then greets Siki, but she now sees him in a different light thanks to his stupid sister. Later on, we see Brisa, a girl who's suffering from being a glutton and being broke. Moyako and Kasumi bump into her, and they see Akira drinking a can of juice from the vending machine. The other girls assume that the marks on his face came from sleeping in class, but Moyako tells them that Akira was rubbing his face against her picture. Brisa indulges her and starts saying that Akira was also kissing and licking the picture. The two of them start arguing over the different outcomes, leaving Kasumi as the only reasonable female in this show. Akira eventually bumps into them, and two deranged girls start interrogating him. After baking class, Moyako gives the cookies she made to Akira. Unknown to them, Siki was spying on them as they spoke. Moyako tries to snatch back the cookies when she remembers that some of them are heart-shaped. She didn't want to look like a desperate degenerate, but she ended up crumbling the cookies as she slapped them out of Akira's hands. Akira picks up the cookies and still eats them, telling his sister that they're delicious. Later on, Brisa invites Moyako and Kasumi to create a club with her and suggests that they should invite Akira. She hopes that it'll help cure his non-existent sister complex. Moyako thinks about it but imagines that Akira will create an army of people who also have a sister complex. She ends up looking like a fool until her Akira comes along and they all go home to watch a soccer game. While the others talk about the game, Moyako thinks that they're speaking in a secret language. She starts trembling after trying to decipher the football language but ends up thinking that the conversation is about a girl's vital areas. In the end, she imagines her body in very lewd positions. With summer break here, Moyako and her friends go to shop for bikinis. Siki didn't want something that would expose her milk jugs, so Brisa told her to go for a classic school swimsuit. For some reason, Akira is with them, which doesn't really help the image that Siki already has of him. He decided to go wait somewhere else while the girls tested out their bikinis. Despite the fact that he isn't there to look at them, Moyako still thinks that her brother would pop out like Batman at night. She texts Kasumi to help out, but Kasumi calls Akira from where he is and tells him that his sister is in a dilemma. Akira slips on the phone that his sister mistakenly dropped and implants his face on her wonderful melons. This further made the other girls think that he was quite bold for that move. Later on, Moyako goes to help Brisa at a cafe and has to dress up like a maid. She hopes that Akira doesn't see her, but he immediately walks in with Kasumi. Akira compliments his sister, and she takes it as his plan to amass a maid harem for himself. Moyako takes their orders and dives into another hysteria, hinting that Akira wants to finally confess his love to her. She ends up drowning his meal in ketchup and ruining it. After another round of misunderstandings, Moyako continued to work hard. Back at their house, Moyako is struggling to go use the bathroom because she is feeling embarrassed. When she and Akira were watching a horror movie, she got scared and smothered the boy with her milk jugs. Her fear grew more because of the thunderous weather, but she eventually mustered the courage to go to the bathroom. She gets to the door and hears a strange noise, making her assume that her brother is once again waiting to stuff her with his sausage. When Akira steps out of the bathroom, he sees her sister in a scary posture, and assumes she's the monster from the movie they watched. The next day at the beach, the girls had all the depraved eyes on them because of how alluring they looked in their bikinis. Akira complimented them before jumping into the water with Kasumi and Brisa. Another ridiculous thought pops into Moyako's head, and she thinks that Akira wants to drown himself so she can give him some mouth-to-mouth action. Meanwhile, Akira is getting tossed around by Briko and Kasumi. Moyako rushes into the water to save her brother but ends up burying his face in her melons. After that, Akira goes to get food with Siki. They see their classmate, Fukuyama, working in the food section of the beach. As the heavens would have it, a kid bumped into Siki and stained her sweater, giving Fukuyama the sight he had always wanted to see. She kicked the fool into oblivion because she couldn't stand his degenerate attitude. During a fun little game where they have to squash a watermelon, Moyako thinks Akira is controlling her like a puppet, so she tries to batter him. Luckily, she still slices up the watermelon and doesn't send her brother to his maker. In the evening, they start lighting up fireworks, and their candle goes off. Akira asks his sister to light up his own, but she sees it as him asking for an indirect kiss. She quickly knocks it off his hands and douses the flames. Moyako nearly strangles Akira to death after a second attempt at lighting up their sparks.